This is Ion Sullivan. I am your host, Mike McGuire, joined today as we are each week by the chairman, Rob Doherty. Late NFL night last night, Rob.
So that's why I understand. I go to bed at 8 o'clock, so I really don't understand that.
And the Dolphins were still ahead at 8 o'clock.
Were they?
Well, they were tied.
Well, the Yankees were way up at 8 o'clock, so I was happy I was going to bed.
Yeah, the Dolphins were tied nothing. It was the best part of the game for them. Actually, they didn't play poorly for the Dolphins.
Do they have any games that we'd want to go see this year?
I'm buying draft?
I'm buying a parking pass this year. I'm not walking the 2.5 miles.
You don't like the Walmart in Davie, Florida?
I don't care, but I'll pay more for the parking pass than I will for the seats.
You probably will down there.
I don't care.
Yeah. So we're getting deeper and deeper into the political season here.
Yeah, it's on. Oh, by the way, I spoke to Danny Sturm yesterday.
Yeah.
And he will be here next Thursday at 8 o'clock or whatever it is.
Consistent for the town of Bethel, consistent for Ion Sullivan.
Oh, let me tell you something right now. There is not a better person to run the town of Bethel than Danny Sturm.
No, we love Danny, and Danny is one of the unique examples of where today members of the Democratic Party can not be like off the deep end.
No, I mean fiscally speaking, he does a fantastic job.
Bethel is well run, well operated, organized, and continuity is always the key to success. It's rare that you see a flash in the pan that works. They come in with their ideas, and all of a sudden they turn things around.
Correct.
So it's the continuity that gives the stability to that.
It's the drip, drip, drip of it all.
Right. So we got a number of things that we want to touch on today.
Okay.
We don't have a major topic, and the first one is I think MMA is coming to the town of Highland.
Why do you say that?
Well, you know how back in the day at the weigh-ins you would see the pushing and well, at the meeting the other night, I get a look at a video to check in, see what's going on, what's new with the Ayatollah of the Delaware down there. And
by the way, he had some lovely things to say about you this morning on his personal page. By the way,
well, I take it from whence it came. You've got a crazy person and doing crazy things.
When someone's standing there saying everyone else is lying, right? You got to kind of look at that person a little bit.
So it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
You've got 1,000 people marching, like a military march.
Yeah.
And the one guy that's out of step.
Yeah.
And he'll come in and he'll say with a straight face, I'm really tired of those 999 people being out of step.
Exactly.
They got to get with it.
So back to what happened last Tuesday.
So I tune in just to see what's happening down in the lovely town of Highland, and I see the candidate for the clerk's position,
who's a current council person,
who has been at the forefront of trying to muddy and get rid of the incumbent, Sue Hoffman.
Correct.
And she's shoving Carolyn Act, who's a respected real estate agent, not a politician down there.
Correct.
And they're in a shoving match. Not a shoving match.
No.
The shoving's all going one way.
Correct. They think they can do whatever they want. It's gotten so bad down there, okay?
Right.
Rules don't apply to them. Okay?
No.
And they just absolutely are off the hook, and they will seize power any way possible.
Correct. So, as I understand it, I made a couple phone calls, and now there's cameras everywhere today.
Correct.
Even right here in the studio, there's cameras, obviously,
Correct.
because you're watching us on YouTube.
Correct.
And if you are, make sure right now you
smash
that like button. All right. So now you've got cameras everywhere, and apparently Sonia Kidney was upset that Caroline was filming the proceedings.
So she's upset that someone is taking their constitutional rights.
Right.
Right? And we all know there is no presumption of privacy in a public space.
No, there's no reasonable expectation of privacy in a public place.
That's why you're an attorney and I'm not.
Correct.
And
what's Chicken going for today?
Yeah, Dalma. So she's filming, which you're allowed to do.
Perfectly legal. And again, there's cameras all over that room.
Correct. And recordings.
And recordings. And so No, they don't allow you to film. Just to be fair, they don't allow people to film in a courtroom because there's an official transcript.
Correct.
And you never know. People can turn things on, turn things off, the way they can edit them. So if you want an official transcript of what goes on in a courtroom, you can get it. It's
and at
available.
the end of the day, someone could be found innocent of something that they're being accused of, and you could then turn around and use that to say, oh, they did this, and this.
Correct. You selectively edit it.
Correct.
But anybody can get a official transcript of any proceeding in court. It's not a FOIL request, folks. You just go to the court and you pay for a transcript. So what happened? I know that you've spoken to Councilwoman Haas.
Correct.
What was the story?
I was on the phone with her 20 minutes ago.
There you go.
Because again, did you read that slanderous thing that Johnny put on his Facebook page this morning?
Well, I didn't get it as part of my Facebook briefing because the person that gives me that briefing had not yet turned over.
Okay, I understand. Rest for the weary, you know what I'm saying,
That's
Mike?
right, absolutely.
Rest for the weary. So they, she says, so those meetings become contentious in the audience as well.
Right.
Because Sonia's husband, is kind of like that couple that was up in Monticello, right?
Right.
And then they, so he's balking, and then people are going back and forth.
Now, he's the one that accused Sue Hoffman of stealing $4.2 million.
I believe he said $5 million.
$5 million, okay.
So he got that number wrong too.
Right.
But and then they proceeded to spend $65,000 on a report that, and again, I still don't know where the attorney got the preamble to that report when he read that out loud, because what he read months ago,
right,
was never in the report.
That was like March or April.
Yeah, so now listen to this one. It gets better all the time down there. So the report basically exonerates Sue, right?
Yeah. So it says that there may have been some bookkeeping issues, but as we've pointed out,
they were all to the positive.
They're all to the positive, and so maybe they need to have some bookkeeping issues, and the chief fiscal officer down there is the supervisor.
Oh, no. Johnny's the angel that's going to come save that town.
Oh, right.
You forgot that part.
Right.
So now they're going transaction,
right,
to see if Sue made any errors, and that's why she shouldn't be clerk.
Wow.
And then if that's how far you got to go to catch someone doing something wrong. And I believe one of the transactions was 75 cents.
Yeah, so transaction to transaction.
Correct.
To see if Sue was the clerk. Now, in Sue's office is a deputy, and so I would imagine that the deputies probably do a fair percentage of the transactions also.
Correct.
And that's the person that, contrary to law, that's LAW, law, the deputy works for the clerk.
That's a fact.
But the town board has basically de facto installed the deputy as the clerk.
Oh, by the way, a quick update on Sue. She still doesn't have a computer.
Correct.
Still doesn't have a computer.
Still doesn't have a computer, but I guess I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, you're the bad guy.
Right. So
the Haas family's a bad guy.
Of course.
Mel Carney's the bad guy.
Sure.
Everyone's the bad guy except for Johnny, who's running that town into the ground.
Running the town into the ground because he's running it as a dictatorship. And you know what? That word gets thrown out all the time by certain members of certain... I even hate to say parties, because when I say parties, I'm talking about your father and mine.
Correct.
So certain members of cults,
correct,
that feel a certain way, and we're going to get into Narrowsburg, New York, where a particular member that feels that way seems to be living, where he is literally, folks, celebrating the assassination of a 31-year-old father of two.
Correct.
Literally assassinated.
Husband, father,
entrepreneur.
Everything you want our young people to be.
Well, let's face it, it's the future.
Correct.
You know that with your own boys, you're trying to get them into business.
Well,
I've done the same thing.
What a task that is.
And it's a bit of a task. Sometimes it takes a little more water to prime the pump. But we're making progress.
we're moving forward.
You don't sit down until it's 3 strikes, and we only got 2 right
exactly.
now. So and I know your son Matt is a very good 2-strike hitter.
Oh, he's a high ball hitter too, actually.
Yeah. So I was just thinking that there might have been other problems with high balls too, with some people in this community.
Yeah.
But so what about this guy? He owns the Two Queens coffee shop in Narrowsburg, and I don't know anything about it. I don't drink coffee, so I wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, they sell teas too.
Sells tea? Well, we could go there. He probably sells those liberal teas.
I don't know. So anyway, this guy, what's his name? Charles what?
It would be Charles Willikin?
Yeah, so he puts on his Facebook page a picture of himself and a bullseye with 2 champagne glasses.
Yeah.
And then goes on to say, infers that, we should be celebrating the death, the assassination of someone who let their opponents speak their truth,
whatever they want,
and then explain to them why it's not the truth.
In fact, it's a unique thing. We're talking, of course, about the death of Charlie Kirk, and they've got a memorial service in Arizona tomorrow where they're expecting to sell out a football stadium. Mm-hmm. And of course, all these people are deplorable.
I believe there's going to be one in Sullivan County. I just got an email this morning on that, and I believe it's going to be at 10 a.m. I don't know where it's going to be yet, but
tomorrow.
Yes.
All right. So they're planning these memorial services across the country. This is a person that created a platform where his whole platform was dependent upon dialogue.
Correct.
His whole platform was dependent upon basically convince me I'm wrong.
Correct.
And he never shot anybody down.
Nope.
He said, give me your issue and we will debate it.
Correct.
Now, folks, when we talk about fascism, if you spend just a little bit of time studying what fascism is, and education is pretty important.
Correct.
You learn that the first thing that happened in Western Europe was the media and free speech was shut down. So you could not speak out against Mussolini or Hitler.
First of all, their gun rights were taken away.
The gun rights were taken away, and we got rid of all the lawyers.
And then we started clamping down on the media and everything else.
Government took over control of the banks. Mm-hmm. Government took over control of the media. Gun rights were taken away so that the people were isolated.
I mean, look what happened in Venezuela when they took away the gun rights.
Sure.
I mean,
that went from a very wealthy, successful, pleasant country to, literally a prison.
To a dictatorship.
A dictatorship.
I mean, the guy who's running it lost the election, said, we're going to stay in power.
Correct.
Yeah.
Leave. Kind of happy here.
I'm very happy here.
I think I'm going to stay.
I'm going to hang out. I mean, and he is a country that's one of the wealthiest nations on earth with oil.
With oil.
And people are starving to death.
Yeah, per capita.
Literally starving
to death.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's where you get when you get a government takeover. Now,
correct.
We can have an open dialogue of what government's role should be in addressing certain issues, but that was not Charlie Kirk's thing. His thing was, you support your ideas, bring them to me. You've got the same size microphone as I do. Mm-hmm. There's no people shutting you down. There's no people carrying you off the stage. In fact, his model depended upon the most vehement supporters of positions that were different from Charlie Kirk's.
Correct.
It was an open dialogue of what I'll call the liberal agenda and the conservative agenda. And they were all filmed. So not only could the people present see them, but anybody could take a look at them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you heard this open exchange, what was happening is that by and large young people who had been indoctrinated in elementary school, high school, and college about a liberal orientation,
mm-hmm.
because we know that diversity is critical.
Correct.
Diversity is critical, except on college campuses.
Well, I mean, most professors on college campuses vote, not with our thought pattern,
right.
with a more liberal thought pattern, even to the point of being progressive,
right.
At over a 90% rate.
And they donate to progressive candidates at over a 90% rate.
Yeah, so I grew up. I went to Catholic school. Right,
as did I.
All right, so we had some nuns
Mm-hmm.
in grammar school, and then in high school I had some brothers. But I also had lay people.
Right.
Everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Mrs. Glass. If Mrs. Glass was married, I didn't know her dog. I didn't know how she voted. I didn't know if she had children. I never knew any of that about my teachers.
Correct.
I mean, I had no idea. My one teacher, Mrs. Duffy, in 6th grade, I knew she was married because he was a chaperone one day on something. We went downtown, and
right.
he was a chaperone.
Mm-hmm.
He was an off-duty police officer
mm-hmm.
at the time, and he was one of the chaperones that went there.
There you go.
Other than that, I did not know children. You didn't know anything about these folks.
No political orientation.
I didn't know their sexual orientation. I didn't know their political orientation. I didn't know what kind of car they drove. I didn't know any of that. Right, and you shouldn't.
You absolutely should not know these things, and in where we've gone now, we've gone 180 degrees. Mm-hmm. We now have a situation where a retired detective of the sheriff's office, we've talked about him, Paul Slavic, was allegedly, I don't know 100%, but allegedly he was campaigning in the classroom at BOCES where he was teaching.
Well, he doesn't teach there anymore.
Correct. He does not. And so you can't help thinking that if you had a campus where 90% of the faculty were conservative and donating to conservative causes, you would have protests that we don't have diversity.
Correct.
We don't have equity, and we don't have inclusion.
Well, I mean, I know you're not on the old info web there on Facebook and stuff, but I mean, they show clip after clip all the time of the left side of different people saying stuff where they would be like, Donald Trump is a fascist for X, Y, and Z,
mm-hmm.
and then someone else does it. And someone from their team,
right.
and they don't say a word, right? I mean, I think that you have to call out, your own party, right?
Absolutely.
To stay true to the values.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about me running for chair,
right?
That's coming up on the 30th.
Chair of the Republican Party.
Chair of the Republican Party. I understand Steve Agliante is going to run for, would be my counterpart.
In the Democrat Party.
In the Democrat Party. And
he's been there before.
We've had, a little beef before.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've put our differences aside, and we're pretty friendly with each other
and
now.
you know what? I think that Steve is not one of these radical folks.
He is not.
He is certainly one that you can sit down. I've known Steve for 30 years. My wife went to high school with him. We don't agree on a lot politically, but he's a person that you could sit down and have a dialogue with.
I agree. So we've done that several times,
mm-hmm.
And so we'll see where that goes. But just back to this guy down at 2 Queens.
Yeah.
So he didn't agree with someone, okay?
Right.
And so then they
politically didn't.
Politically. So he gets assassinated. He gets murdered,
mm-hmm.
okay? And we celebrate that.
Right.
I mean, and then they come out and they say, oh, the ADL says, the Republicans are the most, abusive people when it comes to politics. And one of their examples, this is delicious to me.
We've got a presidential candidate there was an attempted assassination on him twice. And we've got the leader of a conservative-oriented group. He is assassinated.
Correct.
So the Republicans are the ones that are
the
more
bad
violent.
guys. So, and one of the examples they use is the attack on Mr. Pelosi. Right? I mean, now I'm not putting people in categories here.
Right.
But the guy was in San Francisco.
In his home.
But the guy who attacks him is a resident of San Francisco. A well-known guy in the area, kind of a misfit, kind of peace, love, and happiness guy. I wouldn't say that guy's a MAGA guy. Okay.
I wouldn't say he was a MAGA guy, and even more, the guy was attacked in his home, and that is terrible, and that shouldn't happen. But it'll happen more if we keep defunding the police.
I'll tell you that right now. That will happen.
But was the weapon that he attacked him with? Was it littered with anti-liberal slogans?
It was not.
Did it have inscribed on the bullet, "Catch this"? Fascist?
No, it did not.
I mean, you just can't pick something out. It's like when we had the tragedy at the elementary school in Connecticut, where we had 19 children.
Unfortunately, I know that well because when my sons wrestled in Somers, a lot of the parents had their children in that school.
Yeah.
None of them, fortunately, had any deaths in that situation, and that was traumatic.
It was absolutely tragic, and instead of recognizing the tragedy of these young children that are never going to grow up, never going to get married, never going to have an opportunity to go to college or work, we turned it into an assault on guns. Now, the guy, criminal possession of a weapon in New York is a felony. It's a relatively low-level felony. You can get criminal possession of a weapon, 4th degree is a misdemeanor, 1 year in the county jail. Criminal possession of a weapon in the 3rd degree, you get more time in state prison. But not life without parole. Do you think that would have been the deterrent to the guy who shot his grandmother while she was sleeping in bed and had the assault rifle locked in the trunk of his car when he went into the elementary school in Connecticut? But we just take the one thread.
Correct.
A gun was involved in a crime, therefore the gun was the problem. And the one thread with Mr. Pelosi, Mr. Pelosi was not really an outspoken politician. His wife was the Speaker of the House, and agree with her or not, that's why we have elections. But Paul Pelosi was a businessman. He was in finance, lived in California.
Who knows how to pick some stocks? I'll tell you that, man.
Who you really would want to, maybe you'd want to play poker with this guy or have him pick cards for you because he could pick stocks. And I'm sure that there was no information going from Washington to San Francisco.
No, I'm sure during the whole Build Back Better thing, he got $500 million to build back some docks in the San Francisco Bay.
But this is a guy, again, that was just going about his business collecting money with a shovel.
Correct.
But he was not an outspoken politician. No. To even say that he was targeted because of his political views is just to say, let's ignore these facts and let's just go with the one thread.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel,
right,
the guy that used to be on ABC, he flat out says that Tyler Robinson was a MAGA guy. Flat out said it.
He's a MAGA guy because his parents were registered Republicans.
Correct.
And again, all they need is if you have 100 facts, if you've got one, you run with it. And I think that brings us back to the whole Turning Point USA theory. Charlie Kirk's philosophy from when he was at 17, 18 years old was this. Part of the problem here is that our young people are only shown one view of the world.
Correct.
Just like some of the youth in Germany in the 30s were only shown one view of the world. And they grew up the Hitler Youth. Now, I don't even like to use that word. An analogy to somebody who killed millions of people because of their religion should never be associated with a philosophy that says in order to get trade equalized and have it be fair for American manufacturers, we need to start using the strength of our economy,
our marketplace, which, let's face it, most of the rest of the world, the model in Japan, the model in China, the model in Russia, is to get into the American market. That's where the discretionary income is. Okay, we have talked extensively about tariffs.
Correct.
Okay. Before Trump was elected and we were talking about tariffs.
Right.
I said the Chinese will eat grass.
Correct.
Before they don't pay the tariff. Okay?
Correct.
Because see, this happens all the time in the American media. I remember when I was in college back in the 80s, right? Early 90s. And Japan was going to take over the world, remember?
Correct.
Right? They
Absolutely.
were going to take over the world. And then in one of my economic classes, I had to do a report, and my report was the American worker versus the Japanese worker.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And American workers smoked the Japanese worker. It wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm.
They worked more hours, took less vacation. I mean, they were just more hardworking people.
Right.
You know, there's nothing like the American worker.
Right.
Okay? And now I see this coming back about China and how great China is and China this, China this. If we said tomorrow, we're going to close our doors to you for 6 months, China would look like Minneapolis a couple of years ago, okay? There'd be riots in the street.
What did we hear about China prior to Nixon opening the doors to China? You didn't hear about them at all.
No.
I mean, they were there. There's a lot of people there and all, but they were not an economic power.
No.
Nixon opens the door to China, and here come the Chinese products that are manufactured at very low wages because the government controls manufacturing.
But they also take care of your housing, they take care of your food, they
That's
take
just
care
the
of
way
everything.
it is.
Right?
I mean, that is the communist model.
Yeah, and there is no upward mobility. Right?
Oh, no.
So the one thing that separates us from everyone else is upward mobility.
Correct.
Right? So if I tell a story all the time, okay? When I was 19 years old, my father had passed away, okay? And my mother had, severe multiple sclerosis, okay? I was 19 years old, right? I could just, went and got a job at the local grocery store and stayed there for 40 years.
Right.
Which I'll be retiring in 3 years if that had happened, right? I did not do that, right? I finished my education, and then I went on and, figured it out, right? Worked, tried some businesses, not always successful, but, over time, we perfected it and we got it down and, really figured it out. I outworked people, and I had a concept that worked. And, here I am now, right?
Right.
Wealthier than my father could have ever dreamed of being. And, except for my sister Jane, probably the most successful, sibling in my family.
Your sister Jane, of course, she went to work with a little company that dealt with books and videos, and she just stayed in that little company for a lot of years. And that little company grew a little bit.
It grew a little bit.
And,
And she was a senior vice president in that little company called Amazon.
A little company called Amazon.
Yeah, she did it right for herself.
Yeah. So, the idea that always comes to mind is Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca literally started out sweeping the floors in the Ford factory where his dad was an engineer.
Correct.
And he then rose up to become chairman of the board of Ford and then ultimately Chrysler.
Correct. I mean, if you ever watch that movie Ford versus Ferrari,
Right?
Great movie, by the way.
Oh my God, tremendous movie.
They show him as an executive there, right?
Right.
But he,
right. No, he started off literally in the summers sweeping the floors in the factory. He'd go in when the day was done, and he was a night cleaner in the factories.
So back to this guy Charlie, right?
Yeah. So
now if we hold them to the same standard that they hold us to,
right?
Okay. Let's just walk through what that would look like.
Okay.
So there's this cancel culture, right? Where they went after people, and I remember the current chairman of the legislature went after me for not wearing a mask.
Correct.
All right? Even though I had just had major lung surgery.
And you had a letter
Correct.
from the foremost thoracic surgeon in the world. The guy that literally wrote the textbooks that if there's a doctor someplace else in the world that he's learning about thoracic surgery, your doctor literally wrote the book.
You are absolutely correct.
And that was the situation. Plus, you were long distance, way more than 6 feet from anyone except for Josh and Annie.
Correct. And I spoke to them about that.
Right. They were aware of it.
And they were aware of it. And I said, if there's an issue, tell me, blah, blah, blah. But I was attacked viciously. Okay.
And regularly.
All right. By people in the audience.
Yep.
One of the people is now a current legislator.
Yep.
The chairman, in fact, she filed a complaint against me.
Yes, she did.
Okay. It got knocked down, but that's not the point. The point is they wanted to embarrass me over a situation I could not control.
Correct.
Okay. I needed fresh exchange of air. Okay. Because I could not risk an infection.
The problem that led you to have to wear that mask, you had when you were running, and another member of that group told people not to vote for you because you were going to die.
Maureen Lerner told people not to vote for me because it would be a waste of a vote because I was going to die.
Right.
That's a fact.
Right.
I mean, that's like flat out fact.
Exactly. So go ahead with.
And so if that's the rules of the game, right? Now, Paula Kay is our assembly person.
Yep.
Okay. And I know Paula Kay. Our kids went to school together. I don't think I've ever publicly said anything bad about Paula Kay.
Nope.
I'm sure she does a fine job as assembly person. But she hasn't made a statement about Charlie Kirk's assassination.
She has not.
She has not said a word. But if you live in Pine Bush or Eldred, you got a flyer from her talking about all the hard work she's done for your school.
Right.
And on that flyer, I'll let you guess who's on that flyer.
Probably not Rob Doherty.
Rob Doherty's not on that flyer. You're correct.
Who's on the flyer?
But our buddy Charlie.
Our Charlie, the guy that applauds death.
Correct.
The murder, the homicide, the assassination of a 31-year-old entrepreneur, father of two.
Correct. Husband. Correct. So, now do we attack Paula Kay for that?
Well,
he's on her ads.
The question should be, is this person consistent with your beliefs?
Correct.
And I don't know if it's her beliefs, but it better be her position in the Democrat-led assembly.
Correct. So, now do we turn around and say, well, Paula Kay's a bad person because she had this person on an ad? Is that what we're doing now?
Well, I mean, it certainly is worthy of a question that'll never be asked.
No, it'll never be asked. And I'm not saying Paula Kay's a bad person at all, okay? I understand that. She's playing to a base. I understand that. I had him on an ad.
Right.
I mean, obviously, he doesn't have any kids in school. They... I know for a fact they don't have children. So they... But now, if we're playing the woke, cancel culture game...
Right.
We should be going after Paula Kay on this, right?
Yeah. I mean, and you're uniquely situated to go after her on that because she would have never had to have sent that flyer to the Eldred School District if not for you, because there would be no Eldred School District if not for you.
There would be no Eldred School District.
It would have been those children would have been going to Sullivan West.
You are correct.
Or Port Jervis.
They were, I think 55 would have been the line.
Yep.
And they would have been like, you guys on this side go here, you guys go here.
Right.
And that's what they would have done.
That's what they would have done.
And well, that would have been good for Port Jervis. They would have become a Division I school again.
That's correct.
And that would have been fantastic for them.
Yeah.
Because they run a fantastic school there. But anyway, so my point is that, if we're following the woke culture rules,
sure,
right, which I don't think are correct,
no.
I mean, so now do we attack Paula Kay for having him in her ad, right? And she hasn't said anything about Charlie Kirk.
Well, when you and I know, could go on about this long after Jacob was asleep.
We get all kinds of crazy hand signals from Jacob.
Yeah, but folks, if you just pay attention to history, this country was founded when people left Europe and came here. It was seeking freedoms: freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. That's the most fundamental foundation block. And where we have gotten back to the situation with Charlie, and right in our neighborhood with Sonia Kidney going after Carolyn Act, is freedom of assembly is limited by freedom of whether or not I agree with you. And our president is a fascist because he has an economic theory to help balance out the imbalance in trade deficit.
Which, by the way, has worked for thousands of years.
And it is working even now, and even some of the orators on the other side have acknowledged that, wow, we haven't seen massive inflation, and you know what? The trade deficits are balancing out because they're going to pay those tariffs or else they have no... Exactly.
They will eat grass before they stop. Listen, I told you this before. I've told my wife this before. Okay, they were quoting Milton Friedman leading up to the election. Okay,
right.
And I've discussed Milton Friedman, Free to Choose. I've read the book 3 times. I've listened to it more than that. Okay,
right.
on audiobooks. Okay, they misquote him terribly. Okay, in fact, the tariffs that Trump put on in his first term, Biden left on.
Of course,
he left them on.
Yes,
if they were so bad, why wouldn't you peel them back?
On election day, Biden peeled back, I think something like 100 executive order, peeled back much of the Trump agenda, which is why that big, beautiful bill was so important, because you've got good things happening. You don't want to be able to peel them back with a stroke of a pen.
Correct.
President Obama bragged about how he could do it with a stroke of a pen.
All I need is a phone and a pen.
Phone and a pen, and it's done.
Because democracy is not their forte.
That is not their forte.
Correct.
But it's a key word. You can rile up youth by using key words, and that takes us back 180 degrees with the Charlie Kirk. His whole model was, I want to present in a civil way your view, my view, and let people listen to the exchange and make a decision. That's what did not happen in Europe in the 30s and 40s. It's what does not happen in China. It's what did not happen in the 50s in Cuba. And it was what was being punished in the United States over the last 5 or 6 years.
I agree with you.
And what happened as a result of it with the youth vote in the last 2 elections?
Well, they're going to the right.
They're steadily increasing because we're hearing theories that just can't be supported.
Well, I mean, you remember the Bush-Gore fight, right?
Sure.
I mean, that was down to a handful of votes.
Literally.
Okay? Literally. I mean, literally. I mean, we're talking Chads, hanging Chads, the whole deal, right?
Right.
And until the Velvet Hammer, James Baker got down there, and then that ended real fast. Right. But they have a million, they have a million more Republicans registered now,
right,
than they did then.
Yeah.
George Bush, when he went after, that will not be a Democrat state probably in our lifetime.
Correct.
Okay. In our lifetime, Texas has gone from a blue state to a red state.
Correct.
When George Bush Sr. ran, he fought for his life to become a senator down there.
We all remember Lyndon Johnson was one of the most powerful politicians in the state back in the 60s.
He killed the president. So Ohio was, George Bush wins that by, I think, 17,000 votes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him president of the United States against John Kerry. Right?
Yeah.
Bright red now, okay?
Bright red.
Is when you bring in the youth, okay, and you lay it out to them, okay? What was the president that said that if you're not a Democrat when you're young, you don't have a heart, and when you're older, if you're not a Republican, you don't have a brain, right? Some president said that, but it's true. By the way. And I understand being young and being youthful and saying, all these great ideas, but the rubber hits the road at some point.
Correct.
Okay? The rubber hits the road and the bills come in. I mean, you have to understand that. And you have to, prepare for your future, and you have to do all that stuff. And I feel that the Republican method is the best way to go. I mean, don't get me wrong. Charlie Kirk was also a Christian. Okay?
Deep Christian.
Correct. So when I argue with my wife over a topic, and she says, well, that's because you were raised by Democrats.
Right.
And my response to her always is, no, I was raised by Christians.
Well, I mean, I've stood by your side for 6 or 7 years and been part of many of the important meetings and decisions. And folks, we know that following rules for radicals, not Robert's rules.
No.
But Alonsky's rules.
Yeah.
Saul Alonsky's rules for radicals.
And by the way, they're not my particular rules.
Correct.
Yes.
They're not Rob's rules. They're Robert's rules. Yeah, Robert's is not Robert Doherty.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, so they had on Catskill News today what happened in the meetings yesterday.
Oh, we want to get into that.
Okay. We're talking crazy town.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought that was the Japan's parliament.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's must-see TV. So, Rob was positioned as this dictator radical. Folks, I'm here to tell you that fiscally, the chairman very much believes in certain fiscal economic policies that have proven out to be 100% accurate.
Correct.
But socially, he could leave some of your head scratching because he also recognizes nobody worked harder for clean air and water. A major thrust of our last year in the county was addressing issues that were popping up in our lakes and streams.
Okay, so I left $60,000 in a fund, right, in the planning department, for water testing inside of this county. So let's say you were a Smallwood Civic Association and you wanted to test mountain lakes and you wanted to test other waterways going into mountain lakes, and you didn't have the money to do so.
Right.
Or if you were a township or something like that and you wanted to test your water. I had the money put aside so that Sullivan County government would pay for your water testing, right? So that you would have, you could make sure that you have clean waterways, right? And then you could address the issues of why they're not clean, right? But first you got to find out if they're clean or not. They got rid of that money.
Got rid of it.
Gone. They repurposed that money and they spent that money too. Gone.
Correct.
Okay.
Who was the moving force behind Move Sullivan's expansion so that wealthy people living in wealthy parts of this county could get to golf games? No. It was because Rob realized and recognized that a big part of his business at Carmine's Meat Market were people that could walk to Carmine's Meat Market because they couldn't afford to get a cab to Walmart or ShopRite.
Correct.
So that they could shop for, understandably in some cases, lower prices.
Not on the meat. So we have we have the cheapest prices.
And way cheaper on your boar's head stuff.
Correct.
He expanded Move Sullivan. Why?
So my kids went to Monticello High School, okay, and grammar school, blah, blah, blah. So I think they call it middle school and whatever, right? Elementary. So, obviously it's a diverse school, and, a lot of the kids, didn't have, nicer sneakers, nicer jeans,
Right.
game
Singlets in wrestling.
Yeah, singlets and wrestling shoes, all that fun stuff.
They did when you were done.
Yes. And so I always ask them, well, why don't you just get a job, right? I mean,
Yeah, right.
after school, off season, you can work. Oh, well, it costs X to so if you lived in Sleepy Hollow or on the backside of
Evergreen,
Marcel,
yeah.
Evergreen, any of that, it costs too much to go
Right.
to work. It literally took up 5 of your hours
Right.
to go to work.
Exactly.
Never mind coming home from work. So I said, we got to fix this.
Right.
Right? And so we averaged for 30 years before we expanded Move Sullivan, 6.5% unemployment. Okay? Every year after we expanded it, it's been cut in half. It's around 3.2, 3.3. So we cut unemployment in half by expanding Move Sullivan. Now my Republican friends didn't agree with me on that.
Not one bit.
Okay, and I explained to them why this is good. Right? It generates more sales tax. So everything I do, as you know, has a Republican side to it and a more socially, I don't know how you would say this nicely,
Acceptable.
Side to it, right? I mean, the giving people the opportunity for upward mobility, that's where the Promise Scholarship came from.
Right.
That's where a lot of the things I did
And
came
affordable
from.
housing could come with better wages.
Correct.
It becomes more affordable if you are working.
Correct. And so these are things that, when I did them, when we decided not to charge for the Move Sullivan, people are like, oh, that's crazy. Okay, what's even crazier? How much money you have to spend on counting the money you just took in.
Right.
Okay, that was insane to me how much it cost.
Yeah.
It would cost more than what we collected on a daily basis.
Correct, because the reality is that when they had to pay and put money in the bin, they didn't use it.
They didn't use it.
Now, not only the shopping, not only the jobs, but we're seeing people who are put on probation and therefore given an opportunity for drug treatment.
Correct.
And alcohol treatment and working and getting to work if they didn't have a license. Healthcare. Well, they now can have a way to get to probation.
Correct.
And so they don't violate because they can't get there.
Correct. So let's say, Penny says you have to be here Monday at 8 o'clock.
Right.
And then you can turn around and say, ma'am, I apologize, but the bus comes at this time,
right,
and it gets here at this time.
Right.
Can we change it to 10:30?
And that's what we see.
And then they change it.
And now I was in one of the offices in probation. Soon I'll be off probation, but I was in one of the offices in probation, and the officer there, Officer DaCosta, who's a young, super dynamic, great role model for our young people and probation officer, she spun around in her chair. And because I was saying that my client needs to take the Move Sullivan, she had the schedule posted on the wall.
That's exactly. See, this is giving people opportunities, right?
Right.
It's about upward mobility
right,
for people. And that's how you have to think about these things. And, people may have gotten on me about it at first, but let me tell you, it's increased our sales tax. It's, we're a healthier county today. We're a better educated county today. You have a second shot at life when you make a mistake because of it today. And more people are working.
And you worked arm in arm with an individual who we love in Laura Quigley.
Oh, we love Laura Quigley.
She's one of the true assets in the county. But my guess is if we matched up presidential elections, you two probably offset votes
100% of the time.
But here was a person in the chairman that had no problem working with people. The trash issue and protecting the environment. Who was the leader there? There was a fiscal component to it, what we were spending, what our taxpayers were being burdened with to get rid of garbage. Now it's even more.
$17 million a year at the time.
Yeah, just to get rid of our garbage.
Okay, and it was environmentally, it was the worst thing you could do.
Couldn't do anything worse.
So when we went to go get our permit, right?
Yep.
For composting, right?
Right.
Took us 2.5 years to get that permit.
And the organization that encouraged us to do it was the DEC.
Correct. And
it still took 2.5 years.
And You know how you were the attorney on it. You know how many hours that took, right?
Correct.
And we fought like dog. And I'm like, when I first started the process, I was like, why hasn't this been done before?
Right.
We quickly found out why no one had gotten it before, right? Yeah. It was I who got the permit, right? It was my administration that I was like, Mike, please, we got to keep pressing on this. We got to keep pressing on this. And you were like, these guys are impossible to deal with. Yeah. And McAndrew was like, Rob, I mean, he was scratching his head every other day. I was like, we have to get this.
Sure.
And that's how you make your area better, right? I mean, is the far left will be like, oh, we're the most environmentally sound as they show up on their jets, right?
Right.
No, it's about working together and upward mobility.
So there are certainly areas where we can find a common ground.
Correct.
Between the quote-unquote liberal agenda and the conservative agenda. You found many of them that benefited everyone. So again, what Turning Point and Charlie Kirk's philosophy was, let's, in a civil way, show both sides. Let's debate an issue.
Correct.
We're not debating whether a man can become a woman. They can't. You can't flush your Y chromosomes. It can't be done, period. There's no debate there. But where there is a debate, he would open that dialogue.
Correct.
And young people, because they get their news from Facebook.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
You know, I mean, literally, we have seen over the last 10 years, the Times Herald Record, which used to be the standard, it's like the Catskill Shopper now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like not even a newspaper anymore.
By saying Catskill Shopper, most people that listen to us probably don't even know what that is.
Correct. Yeah.
That's how crazy that is.
That's how crazy it is. So young people started to see, I mean, my own focus group is my household. My 3 boys would start saying to me, hey, you know, what this guy is saying makes a lot of sense. Now, we have a couple of people in my family who socially are on the left. And when the cousins would start to say, hey, wait a minute, you got to look at this another way and you got to understand all of the facts, you could start to see young people changing. And we started to see over the last couple of presidential elections that young people in greater numbers were moving to the right on many issues.
I mean, you know, so it's been said that Charlie Kirk is going to be this generation's JFK.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, the left has a problem.
And that's why his life had to end the same as JFK's.
Yeah, correct. That is a problem for them because, you know, I remember, you know, talking to my parents about, you know, why they were Democrats, and it was mostly union issues.
Yep.
And but my dad was a Reagan Republican, you know, and and you know, as time went on, you know, I could see why people. I mean, if you look at the 64 planks, you know, in the Democrat Party, they're pretty conservative.
Pretty conservative.
They might not pass the Republican Party today.
It certainly is possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've read them before, and they, you know, I think that, you know, things go in pendulums. You know, it goes left to the right, and I think that we are, for the next, you know, good term, we're going to be going far right.
There's no doubt in my mind. I had this discussion with one of my sons about a week ago. If the Cuban Missile Crisis happened today, there was a Democrat in the White House at the time, there would be protesters referring to American imperialism, and we have no right being involved in the affairs of another country in Cuba with respect to their defending themselves against American imperialism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just no question about that. We could go on for hours and hours.
Jacob
about
would be
this.
doing all kinds of hand signals and stuff. It'd be horrible.
But let's touch on happened yesterday in the legislature.
Okay,
I haven't had a chance to watch it, so let's bring us up to date.
Okay, so it was on the Catskill News today, right? So,
All right.
So the Least Fine Station, every day puts up, clips of, different things going on,
Okay.
right? So one of them was in the legislature, right?
Where civility returned as soon as you and I left.
Okay, so they said Rob Daugherty was the issue, right? So then they paid tens of thousands of dollars to have these leadership classes, right? That went nowhere. Right?
And to train them on Robert's rules.
Oh, okay.
When many of the arguments were because you were following Robert's rules, who was supported by the parliamentarian who at the time was a Democrat.
Correct. So the leadership thing didn't work, and so then sorry, Michelle, and so then they went to.
By the way, Michelle, you can admit now anytime, and we love you, and we know you just got married, and we're very happy for you. But the county attorney at the time told you that it was a joke, and he wasn't wasting his time.
Okay, so then they hire someone to do Robert's Rules.
Right.
I told you what the woman said her first day, right?
I couldn't meet with the county attorney's office because they were doing training on Robert's Rules. I'm like, what?
So
You're an attorney.
So anyway, it is a free-for-all in there, okay? So Kat Scott, who's from District 5, used to be out in the audience with the signs and all that.
Like the Fire McGuire.
Yeah. So now she has a seat, right?
Right.
So they vote. She puts up this 20-unit housing, low-income housing thing that's going to go over there in Liberty, and they voted down.
Which is not her district.
Right. Which, by the way, she did not prep anyone on this. She didn't do anything. She gets it on the agenda on Monday, right? Before noon, right? And so it goes on there, right? Why don't you put it in Fremont, see how that goes? You know what? Put it in downtown Narrowsburg,
right,
and see how long those people vote for you.
Oh,
okay,
there you go, yeah.
Okay, see how long they vote for you. Okay,
right.
I think there's some empty buildings in downtown Narrowsburg. Put the homeless shelter there.
Client that's looking to put a restaurant in downtown Narrowsburg in an empty building.
So who's that?
Clients looking to put a restaurant in a downtown building.
Yeah. Well,
empty building.
Well, maybe they could put the housing.
Be perfect.
I mean, that's her district, right?
Sure.
So let's do that.
Yeah.
And we'll see how long those people vote for you down there.
Right.
So it gets voted down, right? So the vote's over, and she's still going on.
Right.
Right? So then Legislator Bernardo's like, point of order.
Yeah.
Like, this is over with.
This is what we just got trained on.
Right? We cannot discuss it anymore.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm a legislator. I can discuss anything I want. This is exactly what went on when I was there. I was like, no, you cannot.
No, literally, they would say that. I'm not discussing it, but we've already voted on it.
Correct.
But we didn't discuss it before. We did where it was movement, second, discussion.
So if they lose the argument, they want the argument to keep going.
Right.
Right? Because they don't care about the rules.
Right.
They don't think the rules apply to them.
Correct.
It's an absolute mess. I mean, Bose was the architect of taking me, George, and Mikey Brooks out, right? God rest his soul. But what was the plan? This was your plan?
This was your plan.
This was your plan, Tommy?
Right.
Tom, this was your plan?
Sure.
I mean,
and it lies at his feet.
Oh,
the
without
tax
a doubt.
increase, the dissipation of the fund balance, it all, folks, you put him in charge of Callicoon, this is his plan. This
Correct.
is who he is.
Correct.
Make no mistake about it.
Correct. I mean, and he uses that false argument all the time. He's asking for sales tax, and he uses Putnam as the example.
The problem with socialism is you eventually run out of other people's money.
Correct.
Sales tax is other people's money, Tom. It's
Correct.
the county's money. That's how the county is funded.
Good. If you want to start paying for your bridges any day,
right?
Okay, we can have that conversation.
Or your chargebacks, or any other countywide services,
or any of the other 25 things that we do.
Right.
Okay, so. He always uses Putnam County as the example. Okay,
so slightly more wealthy than Sullivan County.
So the reason why Sullivan County does not have to share sales tax with the townships is in New York state law. You have to have a city in your county in order to be forced to share the sales tax. There are
that's law, though. We don't follow that.
There are 6 counties in the state of New York that do not have a city.
Right.
We happen to be one of them.
Okay.
Correct. Putnam happens to be one of them. Just while you have a minute or two, look up Putnam County. It's the 12th richest county In the state of New York? No. In the United States. Okay?
Wealthy area. And not really a lot of commercial areas in Putnam County.
No.
It's a purely residential, some shops, but not much.
Let me tell you something. They're an MTA county.
Yeah.
They have mega money coming in there. The average wages are over $100,000. They are a very wealthy area.
Well, not only MTA, but I mean, you can throw a baseball to White Plains practically.
Correct.
And so you've got lots of opportunities for very high-paying jobs.
Oh, and by the way, the towns get charged, have to pay the chargebacks.
Right.
The bridges are paid for by the towns.
Mm-hmm.
And the 25 other items all get paid for by the towns, not by the county.
Workers' comp.
Workers' comp. I mean, people don't understand how this works.
Right.
Right? Tom definitely doesn't understand how it works.
Well,
but
he just was looking for money without going out and saying, well, I'm in this boat called the town of Callicoon. We're rowing along. We broke an oar. Maybe we ought to figure out how to create our own revenue.
Well, I mean,
maybe the IDA could probably help Tommy out a lot.
Well, they tried to help him out, and he turned them down.
Yeah, he actually passed a resolution that they wanted no IDA involvement in their town.
Correct.
I mean, really?
Correct. So Jeffersonville is what generates the village of Jeffersonville,
right?
Run by our good friend Bill Chellis.
Not a liberal.
Not a liberal. Generates most of the sales tax in that township. Has major water infrastructure issues.
Yeah.
You think Tommy's helping them out?
Well, he should.
No, you're on your own. You have your own tax base. You're on your own taxing authority.
And in fact, his argument was that people generate the sales tax in like the village of Jeffersonville, and that's his argument for sharing the sales tax. Well, the village of Jeffersonville is a great study because to get into the village of Jeffersonville from either direction requires you go over a bridge.
Correct.
That's maintained by the county.
Correct.
So, Tommy, why don't you start maintaining the bridge?
Let me tell you something. If there was ever even a conversation where we would share sales tax with any municipality, I would do it with villages long before I do it with townships.
Sure.
Okay? Because they're the ones generating it.
Sure.
Like you take the village of Wurtsboro, you take the village of Jeffersonville. They're the ones generating most of the revenue.
Right.
Right? Thompson, it's kind of an awkward situation because Kayamisha's
so
not
much
in
money
there.
too.
Please stop.
Yeah.
Kayamisha, and so it's kind of a little different there. But in these small townships, well-run townships, but they struggle because they're I feel a thing of the past.
Well, I was involved in a meeting, and we're going to wrap up here very shortly. But the county recently created the Alex Rao Emergency Medical Services system.
Oh, yeah.
And it started off with 2 catch cars, and we knew very well that wasn't going to be where it ended. Now the other day I saw Sullivan County ambulances running around. And they're running around here in Liberty and in Monticello, I see them. And again, you talk about what the towns are doing. In the town of Lumberland, which I know a little bit about.
Yeah, a little bit.
The
Well-run town.
Well-run town, conservative-run town.
Yeah.
The fire company there is not a taxing authority. There's no fire district. So the people in Lumberland don't get a bill for fire services or EMS services. And the fire company has the EMS. In Highland, it was the American Legion. Now it's the Town of Highland Ambulance. But those are purely volunteer-run organizations that depend on the people in the community. The county is shoveling money at EMS in the areas where we have, was Mobile Medic, now Empress, and we have Hot Solo, which does a great job. Hey, how about we help out some of these small communities that, where $25,000 would go a long way in the Lumberland Fire Company to be able to respond. And they responded to 92% of their calls last year. They didn't need mutual aid. How about we take a look at, instead of creating more layers of government, maybe throwing a little bit at these small towns along the river corridors so that they can, because the argument always was, well, the response times along the river corridors is too great. We've got to have our own EMS. And we got the EMS. It's based in the towns, not in the river towns.
Well, I looked at some of the stats they put up, and I don't feel that they're accurate. I mean, they have 300 and some odd calls on the fly car.
Right.
But meanwhile, they had Highland down for 4 calls 1 month.
Right.
And
exactly.
And the breakfast you missed.
Right.
I had with Tony.
Yeah.
I asked him, you did 4 calls last month?
Yeah.
It's like 4 calls. He looked at me like I was a crazy person.
Yeah.
I said, I did 4 calls in a day.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Especially in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. So I do believe that if you're going to put money towards something, I do believe in spreading it out to more organizations.
Sure.
I mean, you look at Jeffersonville Ambulance, they do a great job.
They do a great job. Bethel Ambulance.
Bethel Ambulance is growing leaps and bounds.
They're off the charts.
They're going to need a new building soon.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an issue coming up very shortly.
Yep.
Very shortly.
Yep. So the point is that the answer isn't always just create more government. The answer sometimes can be let's spend a little less money and spread the money around. And that whole EMS issue was one that came to you. And remember, you sat down in meetings with the 2 giants, which was Mobile Medic and Hotsola, and they had some disagreements on things. But you brought them both to the table together.
Correct.
And said, look, folks, we understand you 2 aren't getting along a little bit. We got to work through that. But we've got to know, what do we need to do? And I think Albie then had a rig that he sent down to the western part of the county and basically sat down there.
Correct.
To improve response times. It's a matter of understanding the problem, debating the issues, and listening to both sides.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Mammocated and EMS. I mean, they do a fabulous job. Fantastic job.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't understand. When there's a concert or something like that, and you have accidents on the way home, they're usually in Mammocated.
That's where they are.
Going down the hill. I mean, that's usually the problem.
Yep.
And they do a fantastic. I mean, an absolute top-notch job down there. And I mean, these are the people who live and work in our county and make things work.
Yeah. So we got to wrap up here before Jacob
breaks his arm.
Breaks an arm or blows a gasket. But in the next episode of Ion Sullivan, we need to talk about this casino bond situation because the Messiah with Dice is having a little bit of problems making ends meet, and then we got the 2 out of the 3 applications for a Manhattan casino. Like Manhattan needs the tourism dollars.
Well, to be fair to the Messiah with Dice, they are on a trend.
They're trending up.
To be successful.
Yep. They're trending up, and the IDA is working very hard for those people who would disparage the IDA and the work that they do. Folks, you'd have no jobs in the casino without the work, the good work of the IDA.
1,400 jobs, 800 union jobs.
Yeah. So we need to talk about this casino bond situation because they need a little bit of help in order to stay going. And then we need to also look at this new farm protection resolution that was debated, was supposed to have been debated yesterday by the legislature.
Susan Brown Otto went to that.
Yeah.
And she called me up like, oh my, I cannot believe. She said, it is anarchy in there.
No. It's civility. Once we got rid of Rob Doherty, there'd be nothing but civility. You see, folks, people who ascribe to not Robert's rules of order, but Saul Alinsky's rules of disorder, will carry out their plan regardless of who is sitting in what chair.
They don't care.
It doesn't matter. It wasn't Mike McGuire and Rob Doherty. It was people that just disagreed with them.
Correct.
So
because they had their own agenda.
And then you had Republicans that thought it was fashionable to disagree with you so that they could try to unseat you and gain power.
Well, here's the thing with that. Like when you talk about gaining power by unseating me, I'm there to do the work of the people, right? Mm-hmm. And I truly did the work of the people.
60 hours a week you did the work of the people.
Correct. And you take someone like a Tom Bowes and Greg Goldstein who sneak attacked me, lied behind my back. I believe Tom Bowes is still making phone calls to this very day, bad-mouthing me.
Oh, absolutely.
All right?
Well, he did support Cat Scott for that reason.
Yeah,
we'll
he
keep
did.
arguing after it's over.
Yeah, he did. So he He is tied to her. They're tied at the hip. Make no bones about that. Okay. What was the plan after you got rid of Rob Doherty? What was the plan? Is this your plan?
Yeah. Well, this was the plan before Rob Doherty ascended to that seat.
Okay. So
to put Nadia in.
So is this the plan?
Yep.
Double-digit tax hikes, absolute mess, anarchy. Is that the plan?
That's the plan.
Okay.
That's what we're looking for.
Okay, you got rid of me, who brought the county to the best fiscal situation it has ever been in. Even in the heyday of the hotels, I put it in a better fiscal situation.
What was Greg Goldstein's words? That these are people we can work with.
Yeah. They're good people, and people we can work with.
Right, and we're going to return civility.
Okay. Yeah. So just on that alone, he has failed at every part of the job.
Of course.
Okay. If he was, let's say he was in a corporation and he came for a job review. Okay. You have not met one metric that you said you were going to achieve.
And again, we keep going back. That's Charlie Kirk's thing, is that let's have a debate on your position, my position.
Correct.
Not just badmouth another person and make them a villain, which is really what John Pizzolatto is doing. He just makes villains out of his people that disagree with him.
How about you talk about your record?
Yeah, how about it?
How about you talk about your record, okay?
Right.
I will put my record as chairman of the legislature up against any chairman or any legislator that's ever been in the county. I'll put it up. I'll sit down with anyone that wants to sit down, talk about my record to their record.
And let's make it even easier. Let's take the 1,100 employees that lived under your leadership versus how they're living under prior and post leaderships, and just see what the commissioners have to say about who was easier to work with.
Correct.
Who was more interested in seeing a meshing of the department's work.
And again, I was the only chairman to ever settle all 8 contracts. We had 9 contracts,
right?
And we got rid of one union.
We settled that,
and the reason we got rid of that union was made up to protect them from management.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
And carrying out that legacy, I'm very happy to announce that last night the Village of Liberty ratified the new contract with the PBA, which was negotiated in much the same philosophy that you negotiated with our unions.
You read the contract first?
We read it, and we targeted, this has got to be a job that people want to come into when they're 23 and stay for 20 years.
Correct.
This isn't
years,
a job that you want to get the job, and the next day you're looking to where you can go better. We're making it a good job. I believe, and the PBA believed, that will make, and in fairness, so did the mayor, believed that it's that continuity that will make the village safer.
Correct.
These guys know the good guys, and they know the bad guys.
Well, let me tell you something. In contract negotiation, first of all, I would suggest you read the contract, okay?
That's a starting point.
Okay, right?
Take the Hal Smith philosophy is committed to absolute memory.
Correct. And then come in with 10 pages of notes, okay?
Right.
So, I have an idea. Now, how about we listen to people on both sides, right? And get their points of view on what they think the contract should look like.
And in fairness, and I've been critical, but the Village of Liberty appointed 2 members of their board, and they appointed the chief of police. And we had, 8 or 10 meetings, and it was civility. It was an exchange of ideas. What can work? What are the issues? What are the concerns that the village has? And we came to a contract without anybody ever going on social media and bad-mouthing the other side.
All 8 of the contracts you and I settled in the county. You sat down and said, okay, what are you looking for?
Yep.
This is what we can afford.
Right.
Okay? Now, as you know, in a lot of the language in contracts, there's stuff that's free. Okay,
correct.
Right? I mean, starting times, off times, stuff like that. It doesn't cost the municipality money, right?
One of the issues in the village was long sleeve shirts and short sleeve shirts.
Correct.
I mean, that was an issue for the guys that are out walking around in whether they can wear long sleeve or short sleeve shirts.
So you want foot patrol,
right?
Right. It's 90 degrees out,
right?
Can they wear short sleeves, please?
That's what it is.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're walking uphill. I mean, Liberty's pretty hilly.
Yeah.
It's hot out. Blah blah blah.
It's an easy give.
I mean, so these are just things that
right.
But you read the contract, so you understood the contract.
Correct.
And you say, okay, let's fix this.
Right.
These are things we can fix pretty simply.
Yeah.
And then once you get a rapport and you understand that everyone's being fair with each other,
right?
At some point, the rubber hits the road and we're going to get down to dollars, right? And that's just the way it is.
Right.
And,
and that can be structured in such a way that it works for everybody.
And we understand that Liberty, like most villages, has been hit with, higher taxes, higher trash costs, a lot of costs that get passed on to them that they have no responsibility on. The state's saying this is what's happening here. And you can work through all that. You can figure it out, okay? And there's a way to structure it properly without, you don't have to be at each other's throats, and it's not like, oh, I got them, It's not like, you could walk away from the contract negotiations. Let me tell you, all of our contracts passed with over 90% acceptance.
2 winners. Okay? That was the key.
Okay, and I have COs that still walk up to me today. Hey Rob, I hope you can give those guys some advice. Our contract's up. Could you give? You still talk to people. Can I help them out? I'm like, don't worry about it. We're good. Yeah.
I got asked to represent one of the county unions in their next negotiation. So, whatever. We will talk about that. I did tell them that we come as a group, so it is what it is. So, before Paul Siliberto calls and wonders where Jacob is, we're going to wrap up this episode of Ion Sullivan. Folks, if you disagree with something we said, John Pizzolatto, chair is here.
Right here.
You got something to say? Come on down and say it. In the spirit of Charlie Kirk, convince me I'm wrong.
Correct. Hey, John, you're more than welcome. Come on anytime you want. We'll have a civil debate.
Correct.
On your performance in the town of Highland.
Right. We'll be happy to do that. Leave us a comment. If you want to send us an email, it's ionsullivan@gmail.com. That's EYE unsullivan@gmail.com. You want to share the link, the whole link, please, on a platform. So, on behalf of the chairman, Rob Doherty, I am Mike McGuire, thanking you for joining us. We'll be back next week with another edition of Ion Sullivan.